Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Fleetcast. And I am joined in a bit of a different episode that we've done for a while. We're doing a Game Master review, Game Master interview, sorry. I'm so used to review episodes. I'm doing a Game Master episode with the OG 47 GM that is Ben. He is the first GM in Obsidian Fleet that wasn't Star Trek. So hello, Ben.
Hello.
How are you doing this week?
Not too bad. A little tired and other bits and pieces that I discussed with you
Yeah,
outside list I'm not going to bring up.
it's definitely been a busy week for everyone involved. Everyone who I've
Yeah.
spoken to this week, it's been like, oh, I'm just getting towards Easter. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. But
Yep.
yes, so this is a different episode than what we're used to because normally we are reviewing Doctor Who, but we're not.
Mm,
We are going to be discussing your game.
I know.
Yes, so
Weird, right?
it is. It's a little bit weird and it's a little bit out of our comfort zone because this is the first non-Trek related interview that I've done. So it's definitely going to be interesting because
It,
obviously we've had to do a little bit of work revising some of the questions and things like that. But I think it's going to
yeah.
be a fun episode. So,
Yeah. Can I ask you a question before we start?
of course,
Is this the first game that you've had discussion on where you are also on that game?
I think it might be. Yes, it might
Okay.
be. So I've had Elysium, I've had Vesta, I've had Athena, I've had a game that's no longer there. What else? I've done another one as well. But yes, this is the first one that I've done where I am actually the assistant game master, which is
Yeah.
which is a little bit of a weird spot that I've been in because obviously I did my interview because my interview was the one that started
Mm,
all of this back in 2021 where Minowera was interviewing me for his Twitch channel, which is still there because I
mm.
went to go check it out. Um,
Okay.
and it wasn't video, it wasn't any of this. It was just literally him asking me questions.
Okay.
So this is a bit different. This is two different things. This
Mm.
this episode, which is good, but I think we definitely need to get into asking the questions because your game is very intriguing for what is primarily still a Star Trek community,
Mm.
and you're not Star Trek.
No. We're Power Rangers.
Yes, which
Which I was going to be wearing a Power Rangers t-shirt, but then I realised that it's in the wash.
your mum spoiling your plans.
No, actually, that one was me. That was I took a load of washing down to do it this morning, and then looked on the clothes horse and realised, oh, there's the shirt I was going to wear.
Oh dear. But yes, so your game was the first one to join the fleet under us opening it up to other genres. And
Hmm.
it's still going, what, 3 years on? Has it been 4 years?
Uh,
4 years since you joined the fleet?
three, I think. No, I think it might have been four.
It's because you joined just around the time I became JFC, didn't you? So it's getting on four
It was
years.
just before.
Was it?
Yeah, I think.
No, it could have been because the first Obsidian Day is when we announced it. So yeah, so it's getting
Okay.
on to 4 years, but your game isn't just 4 years because it's closer to six.
We were doing it for about 2 years before that.
Yeah, we were indie. We joined the fleet and we had been indie previously, so that was
Yeah,
that was that was different.
because
But
that was when it was me, you, Paul, and one other person, I think,
yes,
who has since left.
yes. So yeah, so it's been a lot. It's been a while. We've been running it, so
Hmm.
it's been running a long time. But yes, I think
Yeah.
we should definitely get into asking you some questions. So tell us about your game.
So as I said, it's Power Rangers. It's Power Rangers Solar Force. Aesthetically, we took bits and pieces from I believe it was the 40th Super Sentai, which was Q Ranger,
Something like that, yeah.
uh, which I can't remember if it's 40th or 39th. I'm pretty sure it was 40th. Um, but that was also recently adapted into no, it's 39th because 40th was Ninja. Anyway, I'm rambling. Um, it was actually the one that was adapted into Cosmic Fury, or rather, the one they used for the Zord fights for Cosmic Fury,
Yes.
which meant that we got to see our Megazord on TV,
Which is exciting. Very
and
exciting.
I got to make up all sorts of weird and wonderful ways to explain it away down the line, which I'm not going to go into. But yeah, basically, it is a pseudo sequel to a season of Power Rangers called SPD, wherein the Power Rangers are all police officers. Here, you've sort of got the alliance that's mentioned there has continued to grow. It's pseudo federation-y, but not quite.
Yeah.
Um, and it's almost like the narrative almost has the Federation against the Empire from Star Wars. Is like in my head, that's always how I've pictured it.
It's my headcanon too, so yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good one.
yeah. And then it also has ties back to Power Rangers Zeo, in that the source of the Rangers' powers are the solar crystals, which the whole lore behind them is they were created from the offcuts of the Zeo crystal, which was the source of the Zeo Rangers' powers.
Yeah.
However many thousands of years ago that was, we've always been a little bit cagey with that because you don't want to get too bogged down in that much lore. Like,
Yes.
I love lore, but even I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, and I think it's I think it's very different in Power Rangers because yes, there is a lot of lore, but
Hmm.
there is nowhere near as much lore as what Star Trek has.
Yeah. So Power Rangers, I mean, you've got 30 seasons of television.
Yeah.
Um, so you've got a hell of a lot to draw from there. And on top of that, there's also loads. So there's a lot of books, there's tons of comics, which anyone who has not read those comics, I'd seriously recommend doing so.
Yeah.
They are absolutely amazing. Um, in fact, at times I think the comics are better written than the show.
I think there's a lot more that they can do with them.
I also think they are aware that they can be a lot more mature in the comics,
Yes. Yes.
and they very much lean into that.
Yes. So, let's have a think. What is has been your favorite mission so far?
I'm really enjoying the current one, like genuinely, because of the fact that I mean, it started as a completely different mission to what it is now,
Yeah.
which was actually made using the little mission generatory tool that Dulac was working on, and then I played about with it and had some fun. I think you had a play about with it after I'd already done the initial play about, and then it went for a few drafts
Yeah.
until eventually it was like, you know what, this is actually really good.
Hmm.
And then some stuff happened, and it kind of took a pivot to become this um, time travel romp
Yes. So do you want to
with
tell
lots of.
people about what's going on and what was
So
what?
basically, the original thing was we were sent to, or rather, the Rangers were sent to investigate a archaeological dig where they'd been out of contact for a while, and it looks like the bad guys have attacked because a signature that matches the crystals that the Rangers have got, which the bad guys want, was detected there. And of course, it had a little bit of a personal edge for your character because her mum and dad were part of the dig team.
Yes.
Um, but they got there and then ended up having a fight with a monster who then got hold of a time crystal-y thing, which we've been deliberately cagey about what that is and where it's from. And
For now,
I don't in I don't know about you, but I kind of don't plan on ever addressing
maybe,
exactly what it is.
maybe.
Yeah. But it's then sort of then time got rewritten. We literally had two of the team erased from history. Um, and different parts of the Rangers' backstory has changed. Um, I don't know if you've clocked it, but my character's got ever so slightly more bookish for it.
I have, but I've also noticed that I think it was a very good opportunity after 6 years of
Hmm.
writing these characters to maybe change parts of them. And
Yeah.
I've very much enjoyed how I've been able to change Kalina ever so slightly,
Hmm.
by giving her a husband or a wife somewhere in the universe because
Yeah.
her the Rangers have obviously gone to look at their personnel records because they're police officers, you know. They've gone to
Hmm.
look at their
Well,
their
some of them are. Yeah.
yeah, so well, yeah. That's not been
Yeah.
addressed.
Yeah.
Some of them are police officers, and obviously they've got personnel records, and they've gone to look at them, and
Mm,
Kalina's is ever so slightly corrupted. So she
mm,
is not able to get any more information other than she is married and the fact that she's wearing a wedding ring.
mm.
So she doesn't know because obviously the timey-wimey stuff that we've been doing, it hasn't quite kicked in fully yet. So they
Yeah.
still remember the previous universe, and it's a very good opportunity for us to change bits that we haven't enjoyed or add bits that we think, oh, that might be fun. So yeah, I think it was a good plot twist that we've done.
Yeah. And thank you for coming up with that one, by the way.
Oh yeah, it was me that did it, wasn't it?
You were the one who suggested just using time crystal and doing a
Yeah,
full
I
on retcon. I was just going to start killing people.
well, yeah, yeah, but yes. So it's a good mission, and it's been fun. Okay,
Yeah.
what's been your favorite post that you've written in this game?
I've got two.
Okay,
The so I'm gonna start with the one that's a little bit tongue in cheek, which is one which was actually started by our Blue Ranger, Andy,
yeah,
um, who basically we were going. He and I ended up going on a rescue mission. And it was ironically one of the few things because I remember you said to me, but it's not going to be in a new timeline. I'm like, I don't care. Some variation of this still comes into play because it's awesome. Because it's where we introduce the sort of single person flyers that the
yeah,
Rangers have got, which are the whole idea that I had was they're basically because obviously you've got in space, which of course we've got the Astro Megaship Mark III as our base. But you've got the in space, it was the Galaxy gliders. Then in Lost Galaxy, where they had the jet jammers, which when you look at them are very clearly upgraded versions of those Galaxy gliders.
yeah,
And then we now have what I call the Solar Streakers, which I will never change that name. I think it's hilarious. Um, and also, it has an ever so slight nod to a Megazord because the Solar Streak Megazord was actually Daggeron's Megazord.
yes, yes,
But basically, they're then the next step down that design evolution. Um, which then, in my mind, the next step after that is actually to go to the flying cycle thing that Wes had in Time Force. And
yes,
it's basically the missing design link or one of a couple of missing design links going down that tree.
yes. And what's the second one?
The second one's where we got the Megazord.
Okay,
And that one, so it's really bad. But when we first started doing the game, we first said we were going to do Q Ranger.
yes,
The one of the first things I thought of was the first time you put the Megazord together.
mhm,
And I think I even used to keep saying to you, I can't wait for this, but I've got a really good idea for it. Like, I absolutely love it. And the idea I had was literally because they don't know how to combine these things, they don't know how it works. So I have them literally just crash it together.
yes,
And in the same way as you do as a kid with the toys, where you just sort of smash them together
yeah,
because you don't know how to have that finesse and click it in gently. It's like, nope, just smash together. And I was like, I want that to be how they do it, at least the first time round.
mhm,
And it's literally just for that bit because it is doing what you do as a kid.
yeah,
Just smash the toys.
very, very much.
Hmm.
But it worked.
Yeah,
It worked
somehow.
somehow. Okay, so what has been your proudest moment?
um, ooh, I'm gonna be cheeky now. I'm gonna refer back to my notes because otherwise I will go on a ramble.
It's fun.
So, oh my, I can't say that. That's just hokey, and I'm just gonna read the question that I wrote.
Okay.
Well, not the question I wrote. So the answer that I wrote was the one where I realized it wasn't just a pipe dream that you and I had, and there was an actual audience for it. because it kind of brings a tear to my eye, if I'm honest.
Aw, you big
I,
softy.
I have to assume I wrote that answer when I was drunk.
Oh, bless
Because
you, Ben.
I don't think I'd admit that.
Oh, but it was something that you kept going on about, and I was like, "Well, just do it. Create the site. Do it. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go." And you were
Yeah,
like, "Really?" I was like, "I'm here. Let's go."
yeah, because no, well, I thought that no one else would actually be interested in
Yeah,
it.
and people are, and we've had people come and go, but
Yeah,
we've got a solid team of people who want to write, and
hmm,
it's been fun.
yeah,
So yeah, so you are completely entitled to be proud of that moment. So
hmm.
going back a little bit, what was your first game in the fleet?
So I actually made a mistake on this recently in a discussion in the podcast group page. I said that the first game I was on was the Athena.
Okay,
Please note, not the version that's currently going,
no,
one that because I started in the fleet in 2009.
wow.
No, 2008, beg your pardon. So, very long time ago. Um, it was actually the Artemis that I started on, where I played a character who was the chief flight control officer, who was very much designed in the same vein as Tom Paris, except for this was Tom Paris if he didn't really grow out of his more maverick tendencies.
So was this your first character in the fleet?
It was, he even had a first character name. He was John Smith.
That's brilliant. I love that you're
Um,
admitting that.
but he actually progressed through that and ended up as the first officer of the ship.
Okay, so he's had a
And
bit
he
of a
was,
character development.
yeah, and he was still just as much of a cowboy.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But no, then I also was on the Athena a couple months later, and actually that became the first game that I ran starting in January 2009.
Okay.
Hmm.
So you've got the primary character on your game, but you
Yeah.
also have a few other characters. How many do you write?
So again, I need to get my notes for this because I had to actually make a list
Oh, okay.
the other day.
You've got a list.
So there are four
Okay.
currently that I'm writing. So there's Damien, who
Yeah.
is my primary character, the Red Ranger. But I also write a character called Professor Malcolm Hendricks, who is a ever so slightly uppity English scientist, who is also the head of the GPF's science division. And I wrote down sort of pseudo Zordon, but I've also written question mark, question mark, question mark, because he doesn't always fill that role very well. But then there's also Marcus, who is the Phoenix Ranger, who is a seemingly evil Red Ranger, who's currently affiliated with the bad guys. Whether or not he will stay there, I will not say. And there is Reluga, who is the Cowdor, which is the bad guy faction's general.
Yeah.
He is so for context, he is not the Lord Zed character. He is Goldar,
Yeah.
effectively. Like we have not got to Lord Zed or Rita Repulsa level yet. We are still at the Goldar level. It's the same as in Lost Galaxy, where you don't actually have Scorpius for the first arc.
Yeah.
You've got what's his name? The blue and yellow Ecliptor looking guy. Yeah.
Can't remember.
Um but then there is some other stuff planned, but I can't go too far into it because then we get into big time spoilers that you and I haven't even told the other players yet.
No. But do you have a favourite out of all of them?
Damien,
Damien.
because he's very very fun.
Yeah.
He started off as funny enough when I started writing him, I realized I was writing Ziggy from RPM as the Red Ranger, like big time.
Yes.
To the extent that I even parodied his "I don't want to be a Power Ranger" bit, but
Yes.
that's also because I love that moment.
Yes.
But he sort of he slowly actually developed to be a almost capable leader.
Yeah.
Um, Albeit he is. So my opinion of the character is he is still far too emotional to actually be an effective leader.
Yeah.
he is far too emotionally driven. He is also far too driven by his own pride and his own ego. Um, Although I say that, but we've seen instances of that working very well in Star Trek. See, for an example, Kirk, actually Pike in Strange New Worlds. He is surprisingly emotion and ego driven.
Yes, ever so slightly at the moment.
Yeah, and but that does work. But now, as I say, he's got this little bit more bookish since history changed round. Although there was always a hint of that,
Hmm.
because one of the things that I wrote in early on, and it's actually in his bio, is that growing up, because he grew up on a farm, which means there's not a lot of kids around, and he used to. It actually says he used to read.
Yeah,
So it says about he would read Sherlock Holmes, The Three Musketeers, that sort of thing. Basically, literary classics.
yeah,
So that's always been sort of baked in there, but now I'm putting it a little bit further forward and making it a bit more of a character thing for him.
yes.
Um, Fast forward to the bit where he's literally sat there with a pair of glasses, a pipe, and whatnot.
Is there anything else that you'd like to mention about your game?
um, right, so Mm, no, because I didn't make notes for that.
Okay. So moving on.
Anything that you'd like to mention?
Um, no, I just think it's a great community. It's a different style of writing than Star Trek, which I think a lot of people don't realize that each genre of this style of writing, when we've got a concept like Star Trek, Power
Yeah,
Rangers, Dragon Riders of Burn, it's all very different. Yeah, and I think it's a different style of writing, but it's worthwhile because it's quality and it's a great game, and we
mm,
really would like more people to enjoy it.
yeah. To be fair, going down that particular rabbit hole, it's actually been a learning curve in terms of the writing because, well, I don't like to dictate and ram down people's throats. Oh, we need to do this, 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 this. But sometimes when you're doing a big action set piece, which let's face it, it's going to come up a lot with Power Rangers,
Yeah,
you kind of have to
yes,
start just basically going, right, okay, okay, you guys write the character stuff, I'll write the violent stuff.
yes. But I
um,
think yes, it has been a learning curve, but I think you're doing it very well. So
thank you.
I think you need to give yourself a little bit more credit there because my experience of writing is very much outside of Trek. I
Mm,
didn't come into Trek writing until something like 2014 properly.
yeah.
My experience was Power Rangers, it was X-Men, it was Dragon Riders of Byrne, obviously very different genres.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think you're doing well, and I love being
thank you.
part of your game because if I hadn't, I wouldn't have been there for 6 years.
6 years.
6 years, you've
Yeah.
been stuck with me for 6 years, so I think you've put up with a lot from me.
No, you're not that bad.
Yes, okay, but shall we move on to
Yeah,
Power Rangers? Do you have a favorite era of Power Rangers?
I've got right. First of all, are we talking eras or seasons here?
Seasons.
Okay, so I'll always have a massive soft spot for the original Mighty Morphin,
Yeah,
purely because of my age.
yeah.
Um, Specifically season two.
Okay.
Season two was the first one I actually watched as a kid.
Yeah.
Um, I saw season one later on because my cousin had all of them on VHS, so I borrowed them
Okay.
off of him.
Yeah.
Um, but I actually think my favorite season would right. So I'm going to go with two here.
Okay.
First of all, I really, really like Lightspeed Rescue.
Yeah.
Um, because it's a just generally quite a fun season. That was one of the earlier seasons where they actually tried to give all of the Rangers character arcs. I
Yes.
will say tried because they didn't do it especially well. to the extent that by the end of it, all of them except for Carter the Red Ranger, Joel the Green Ranger, and Dana the Pink Ranger, and Ryan the Titanium Ranger had theirs. So basically, blue and yellows had
Yeah.
fallen off the wayside.
Chad and Kelsey really didn't have anything.
But the problem is they tried really hard with them,
Yeah.
but it's just the backgrounds they gave the characters didn't give them a lot to do.
Yeah, it
And
was a bit difficult, like.
it didn't help when they then decided to tie Blinking Captain Mitchell into everyone's backstory except for Kelsey, Joel, and Chad. And then Joel still gets stuff because Joel was just fun. He was the cowboy.
Yes.
Like quite literally, he was the Sky Cowboy.
Yes, he literally was. It
Yeah,
was a
but
bit
that was literally his slogan.
yeah,
He had it on his poster.
yeah, that was pretty much what he did, which was just like you're like, oh, really, really.
Yeah,
But
but
yes,
his whole thing was he fancied the tech girl, and like he keeps trying to impress her and messing up every
yes,
time.
yes,
And it's sort of when you watch it as a kid, you just go, oh, he's being really funny. But you watch it as an adult, you're like, actually, yes, I can relate to doing that sort of thing when you're trying to impress someone. Like,
yes,
yeah, I see what you're doing there.
yeah,
But the season that beats out for me is SPD because that was the one where they got the character stuff right.
yeah,
Because every single character has a fully fleshed out arc.
yeah.
Please note, I am talking the core team,
Hmm.
and I don't care what people say. I know in the Sentai that the Omega Rangers counterpart is the Sixth Ranger. In Power Rangers, it was the Shadow Ranger. It was
Yes,
Kruger.
yep,
He was the Sixth Ranger
yeah.
because
No,
he was the one who actually had a character.
I agree. I agree.
Plus anthropomorphic Dogman. I just yeah, but even when you get to the parts, and also the fact that his best friend is a cat person,
Yes, yes,
and it's like all of these things sound like they should be ridiculous, but it
it
works.
works. Yeah,
And also, I mean, the best arc, as we discussed before, is Sky, the Blue Ranger,
yes,
who he literally in the first episode, you've got the bit where they're all being dressed down. Well, rather, him, Bridge, the Green Ranger, and Sid, the Pink Ranger, are being dressed down by Kruger.
yeah,
And because they're supposed to be on track to be sort of going for ranger training and all that. And Kruger asks Sky, because Sky's made it very clear he wants to be the Red Ranger. He
yes,
wants to be the leader. And he says to Sky, well, what if I chose one of the others to be the Red Ranger? And Sky's response is, well, then, with all due respect, you're an idiot, sir.
yeah. He's pretty much
Because,
he very much belittles the other two.
yeah, because his response is then, um, what is it? Bridge is a buffoon, and Sid's a girl. It's
Yeah,
like, and to be fair, I wish that they'd given her some crackback. Like, really, what gave it away?
yeah. But it was
Um,
Disney era. It wasn't going to happen.
yeah, but by the in the final episode, Kruger asks him the exact same question. At which point, Sky's response is, "Well, if that's what you're deciding to do, I have to assume you've got a good reason for it.
Yeah,
So I'll quite happily follow their lead."
yeah,
And then that's what actually gets him promoted to be the Red Ranger.
yeah.
And then the actor wasn't available when they did the anniversary special, so we got Bridget the Red Ranger.
Yeah, it became but it came, but
It became almost a joke.
well, it was more the fact that obviously, the Yellow Dino Thunder Ranger and
The
the
Red SPD
had
Ranger, their actors dated.
had yeah dated, and they'd split up quite recently, and it was a bit awkward, and they didn't want anything to do with each other. So
Mm.
yeah, obviously when it came out, I believe Sky's actor was actually filming Diary of the Dead, so I don't think he wasn't going to be available whatsoever.
Yeah. Look,
Um, which is a
yeah,
shame.
like I say, I knew he wasn't available. I knew the bit about Jack's actor,
Yeah,
which again, he had a good arc because he goes from sort of the street criminal to the guy having worked as a police officer and also was a very selfish leader at the start. He was literally having them do all his chores for him.
yes,
To someone who goes off to help the homeless.
yeah. So it's a very good season. So do you have a season that you really don't like?
Jungle Fury.
Jungle Fury. You're gonna say that.
Yeah,
Why don't
I,
you like Jungle Fury?
it's not even any one thing. It's just the season as a whole. I don't. It always felt like Wild Force done worse.
Okay.
But there is. So I also don't like the entire Neo Saban era.
Yes.
Samurai was they just did Shinkenger point blank. Megaforce was they were just rushing to get to Super Megaforce. Super Megaforce was they ruined my favorite Sentai season. The only good thing they ever did was let Troy go Super Saiyan. um, Dino Charge, they should have cut down the number of Rangers, or they should have. Ironically, they should have actually, with some of the Rangers, done what was done with the Spirit Rangers in Jungle Fury, where they're not really characters,
See,
because then they could have.
I liked that series.
I my only issue with it is the fact that there are so many characters that some of them get left behind.
Yeah.
For example, the Graphite Ranger, who I really liked because that's the Prince,
Yeah.
and I actually really liked his little arc as well.
Yeah.
But again, he just kind of vanishes.
Yeah.
It's just like, but the Purple Ranger was very fun. The Black Ranger should have been the leader.
Yes.
Like point blank, he would have been a better leader. That said, I really like the actor who played the Red Ranger.
I think they had very good actors for that series. I just yeah,
Yeah,
like you said, it was the story that let them down.
yeah. It was the fact that they had to fit in 10 Rangers.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
the largest amount of Rangers.
yeah. The only one that's actually more is Q Ranger, which is why they didn't do a straight adaptation for Cosmic Fury.
They've probably saw the feedback for that series and thought, yeah, no, we're not gonna do that.
Yeah, apparently one of the writers point blank said, "No, we cannot do a season with that many Rangers. Just it will not work."
Yeah. But
And
yes.
then Ninja Steel was just bad.
Yeah.
Like the final fight was good, and the anniversary episode was good. The rest of it was awful.
Yeah. It wasn't the best. I think that like I said, that whole era was a bit
It was very phoned in, that era.
but very much like Star Trek, there are gatekeepers for Power Rangers. How do you deal with them?
Uh, my response is usually the fight fire with fire approach. If people start getting stroppy, going, "Oh, you're," the biggest example um, is you always get, and it's a really tricky one at the moment because of certain things that have been going on. But you always get the Jason versus Tommy debate,
Yes.
which, for context, this is a really interesting dichotomy for me. I think that character-wise, I prefer Jason. Actor-wise, top like JDF was a better person.
Yeah,
Like,
it's difficult because obviously one of them's passed away and the other one is
yeah,
I don't
he
know
he
what
is in
I
self-destruct mode at the moment.
yeah, that's the only way. He is very much in self-destruct mode. Obviously we don't want to go into that, but yeah,
Yeah,
I can see it and it's
but
there's a lot.
yeah, but whenever people bring up that thing and they're going, "Oh well, oh Tommy's the best, Tommy's amazing," blah blah blah. My response was just, "Tell me who won the fight in Green with Evil?"
Hmm.
And every time, or who won the fight in the Turbo movie?
Yeah.
Like, and every time they will try and get stroppy, and it'll be like, "No, answer the question as it was put to you. Who won the fight out of the two of them?"
Yeah.
Because fun fact, we see Jason beat Tommy twice. We never see Tommy beat Jason.
Okay, so we've discussed that obviously Power Rangers has a lot more than just the TV shows.
Yep.
Do you consider the comics and the Turbo movie as complete canon and everything? Because obviously it's a bit difficult with Power Rangers because you have one movie that is canon, which
Yeah.
it literally links Zeo and Turbo, and then you have the Mighty Morphin movie, which is amazing, but it's not canon.
Yeah, it also has half its plot retold in the opening three-parter of season three.
Yeah, so it's a bit of it's a bit of an awkward one. So obviously I'm
Yeah,
guessing
because
Turbo
so
movie
yes,
and
the
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 comics.
show shows its canon because they literally the first episode of Turbo is a clip show using clips from the movie.
Yes.
It's basically a if you didn't go to the cinema and see this movie over the summer, here's what you need to know.
Yes. So, but what about the
Um,
comics?
Comics, absolutely. The books that they did in the 90s, because fun fact, Mighty Morphin actually had some books
It
that went
does, and I
alongside.
actually had them when I was a child.
I had a couple, but I didn't have all of them.
Yeah, no, I had quite a lot of them.
I don't consider any of
I was a
those.
very, very lucky child.
I had a lot of the toys, but not a lot of the books.
I didn't have the toys, I had the books and the films.
I had the films because
Yeah.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I don't consider the books canon, but the comics absolutely, and not least of all because the so issue 7 spoilers coming up for a comic book that came out in 2016. Issue 7 of Go Go Power Rangers, which was a side series that basically ran along was meant to be pre the Green Ranger coming in Mighty Morphin season 1, had a bit where they find out that the Pink Ranger Kimberly's boyfriend has actually been replaced by some shape shifting super putty. And they find this out at the homecoming dance.
Okay.
But he tries to make a run for it, only to be met by a swift kick in the face at the fire exit from Jason, the Red Ranger, who was the guy's best friend.
Right.
At which point, Jason literally just has the line, you, what was it? You impersonated my best friend and tried to wreck my life. It's morphin time. Followed by this shot of him just stood there in the full Red Ranger suit, going, I'm going to have to pretend not to enjoy this. And
Okay.
it is,
It's a bit
I
dark.
read that, it's like, this is Jason just doing Batman. Like, point blank, this is the Red Ranger being Batman.
Yes. So, do you have a favorite of the comics or the sort of favorite storyline?
Shattered Grid.
Yes.
Like, Shattered Grid was amazing. Because they first of all they managed to fit in every ranger to that point, including the yet to air beast morphers,
Yep.
because they are in the group scene. They didn't just use the Mighty Morphin team as sort of main characters, because you had Jen as one of the main characters from Time Force and Lauren from Samurai. I was a little bit disappointed that they didn't use more of the other characters. I was also a little bit I like them using Jen, not so much Lauren, because she suffers for the season she comes from.
Yes.
Like she was not well written in the show. To be honest, in that comic book, she basically gets written as someone for Jason to be flirting with during the fight scenes.
Typical.
And it, well, actually, no. In the comics, he was never in the show. He was never the one doing that.
No.
Tommy did,
Yes.
and
Zach
to
did.
be yeah, Zach did a lot. Like Zach was just the playboy,
Yes.
and then he left, and Adam came along and wanted to be the playboy, but he was just a frog.
So, for anyone who doesn't really know what Shattered Grid storyline is, do you want to explain?
Yes, so Shattered Grid was where they had because they introduced early on in the comic books run this evil White Ranger from a parallel universe called Lord Draken. So, for a little bit of context, if you don't know Power Rangers, in the show you had Tommy, who was originally the evil Green Ranger, then became good, and then later on lost his powers and became the White Ranger.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of other stuff that goes in there, but this is the TLDR version. Then in the comics, you have this other version where after they break the Sword of Darkness that was making Tommy evil through its spell, he stays bad. And later on, they're trying to make Jason into the White Ranger to fight him. He breaks in, seemingly kills Jason, and steals the White Ranger powers, merging them with the Green Ranger powers. So you get this evil White Ranger. And then he starts going across the multiverse of because they do a really good thing here to explain all these different Ranger seasons all existing simultaneously. They made it a multiverse. and basically he's going across. He's getting powers from all the different ranger teams to slowly build himself up to the extent he ends up in this black, in this black, bot like ranger suit with a massive cape and everything. And um, well, in my head, I looked at it. I was like, he's spawned now.
Yes.
But yeah, he's basically trying to rebuild and he actually builds a universe where he is considered the hero. And it's actually quite sad because obviously you realize that the only thing he actually wanted was for people to care about him.
Yeah.
Because the way he saw it is the Rangers didn't free him from Rita because they cared. They freed him from Rita because, well, he did spend some time kicking them up and down the field,
Yeah.
and he was a potential threat.
Yeah.
And it's very, very clever. It answers a question that has come up in Power Rangers fandom several times. What if the Green Ranger stayed bad?
Yeah.
And it's also very good in that you do get to see Rangers that wouldn't normally interact. And it also leads into a bit afterwards where you have a whole team made up of sort of Rangers from different seasons. So you have Andros, the Red Space Ranger, you have Mike, the Magna Defender, you got Tanya, the Yellow Zeo Ranger. Um, who else was in that team? Perone wasn't she?
Yeah.
Um, I can't remember who Green was. Oh, Cam from Ninja Storm.
Yes. So there was a lot of stuff in that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There was a hell of a lot of stuff.
So that's your favorite comic from that. That's fair enough. It's a good one, and I
Yeah.
probably would have picked that one myself. To be fair, other than
It,
I really really like that Time Force one.
the Time Force one is very good, and I will give a shout out to, despite the fact that I sit there going, I'm not a big Tommy fan. I did like Soul of the Dragon,
Yes.
which is basically Old Man Tommy.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
But yeah, the Time Force one was really, and also the Time Force one tied in very well to the continuity.
Yes. And it allowed things to happen, um and it to be allowed, shall we say?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. If you could make any program of Power Rangers, what would it be?
Uh, right. So if I could
If you had, if
showrun it?
you, yeah, if you had a story in your head, what story would it be? If you could bring it to life.
Oh, see, I completely misunderstood this question the way it was written. Right. I would have to go. To be fair, I would really like to do the hexagon idea they originally had
Yes.
for Ninja Storm,
Yes.
which was basically they were going to do a almost X-Men type approach to it, where it's like a Power Rangers like basically the idea was you got the Pentagon and you have the hexagon is basically the Power Rangers equivalent, and
Yes.
then you'd have Tom. So they had Tommy as the overseer, who would eventually become the Green Ranger because, well, they were like, hang on a minute, it's a Green Ranger with a gold chest piece. Oh, we've seen this before.
Yes.
Which I'm a little bit surprised that by that logic, given that they put Jason with the Thunder Rangers, they didn't make him the Crimson Thunder Ranger.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Hmm.
But I can understand why they didn't go that route.
Ironic, Ironically, that would have actually been an interesting way to do it, though, because then you could. Do you know who I'd put him with, though? Put him with Rocky. Have him as the Crimson Thunder Ranger, Rocky as the Navy Thunder Ranger.
It would be an interesting one, and it's a shame that we never sort of got to see that.
Yeah,
Um, but I know why we didn't get to see that at that point. Obviously, it was very much the
it it basically was going to be the Avengers of the Power Rangers universe,
yeah, and
and
I don't think they were prepared for that to be honest.
not even that they didn't have the money for that
Yes,
because. Bearing in mind, this was the first season that Disney was producing.
yes,
So they had a lot more money than they'd had before.
yes. They had Disney
But
dollars.
they, yeah, but they were talking about, first of all, you were going, so in terms of the regular cast, you're gonna have you've got sort of the three rangers that became the Wind Rangers later on,
Yeah.
and the two rangers that became the Thunder Rangers later on.
Yeah.
But you were gonna have Tommy back as a main character.
Yeah.
They were gonna have Joel back as their pilot, and
Yeah.
he was going to be at the very least recurring, if not one of the regular cast.
Yeah.
And they were going to have Jason as at the very least recurring, if not part of the regular cast.
Yeah.
And then you couple that with they'd said about like, oh, and you can have sort of Billy in here, and I'm thinking, well, given what we know, they probably wouldn't have pulled that one off, but they might have done because different production team.
Yeah, and I also think it was probably a lot of it was obviously Tommy's actor was a bit difficult with the Dino Thunder filming. And obviously that
Yeah.
was why they had what 10 episodes of him literally being stuck in the suit. So I could imagine that's probably that played into it. You know, at that time Austin St. John was
Or at that point, well, actually, no. To be fair, all the time getting those two to be in a room together
yeah,
was problematic.
it would have been difficult. I don't think there was enough Disney dollars to possibly
Make
persuade
all that
them.
happen.
But it would have been interesting. It would have
Mm,
been a good callback to us veteran watchers.
yeah.
But
The only
I'm not disappointed with how Dino Thunder went. Ninja Storm went to be
Ninja Storm. I've got the DVD on my shelf. It's a really good season. Yes, same one. The only other thing that I would have done is a complete rewrite of Super Megaforce. Destroy the Megaforce powers in the first episode. Just make them a whole new suit because then you don't have to have that. Why is Jake a different color? Well, there's a very good reason for that. Never touch on it again.
yeah,
And you don't have the awkward moments, which happen about three times, where Noah, who is the smart one, morphs from his normal Megaforce form into Super Mega Mode to then morph into his normal Megaforce form again.
yeah. It's
And
a
it's just
bit
like, it's like you're the smart one. You're the person who shouldn't be doing this.
yeah. It's difficult, but that was the questions that I gave you. But I've got a couple of quick fire questions.
Okay,
Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Trek. Although I am wearing a Star Wars t-shirt at the moment.
Favorite book?
Oh, that's a hard one.
Okay, favorite two books.
Okay. Uh, so one of these is a cheat, but Complete Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. And for the other one, I really, really, really loved Lord of the Rings as a kid.
Okay, favorite song.
Shoot to Thrill ACDC.
Wow, that's a good one. Favorite TV show that isn't Power Rangers or Star Trek.
Um, see, this changes quite a bit, but at the moment, it's probably Reacher.
Okay, that's a good one.
Reacher's amazing.
Favorite movie.
Favorite movie, Empire Strikes Back.
Okay. And if you could give yourself or any writer a piece of advice, what would it be?
Write for yourself, not for other people. Because at the end of the day, while yes, they can turn around and go, oh, I wouldn't do this, I don't like this, it's not about what's good for them, it's about what's good for you. Because at the end of the day, writing's good for the soul.
That it is. Is there anything else that you would like to tell people about your game, about, you know, anything?
Um, no, not really. I think we covered everything off pretty well.
Okay. Well, then I think for this being the OG non-Star Trek related Game Master interview, I think it's been interesting, and I think anyone who's listening to this will have a bit of a better understanding of Power Rangers and of Solar Force, and
Mm,
hopefully they might come along and have a look at what you're writing and what we're writing and
mm.
see.
To be fair, don't look at her stuff. Don't look at mine. Mine's rubbish.
He's been very kind, but it's been a fun journey for 6 years. Um, we don't often get people saying, "Oh, it's been 6 years that we've been writing together," but it has been, and
Mm,
it's been fun. It's been, you know, up and down like most little writing communities, but I think we
mm,
finally found where we want to be in the game,
mm.
and it's a lot of fun.
It's taken 6 years, but we found our niche.
Yeah, and I'm really enjoying the what I don't get from Star Trek writing, which is being able to write a bad guy, and I love my little bad guy to bits. I love
Mm.
Luna, and I love her.
Tell us a little bit about her.
Okay, so Luna is basically she's a bad
Mm.
guy.
Bad,
Um,
yes. Guy, no.
yes, she is basically part of the Calidor Empire's lieutenants.
Mm,
She doesn't actually have any memory for about 20 years ago. She doesn't age. She's kind of she's very much the Rita character without, you know,
mm.
without being Rita Repulsa level of craziness and power, but she is a witch. Well, she's some type of witch.
See, I was
And
always picturing her as Scorpina.
yeah, obviously, yeah, she's more Scorpion like. And she basically has a staff that is able to get through the armor that the Rangers wear, and no one has yet to figure out why she's got a staff that can get
Mm,
through the armor of the Rangers. There are questions that are there are a lot of questions, should we say, around her. But the Rangers have a diary that they found when they were on KO 35 that Kalina found that was her
mm,
father's.
mm,
And she hasn't actually shared with anyone other than Damien, I don't think.
mm,
I think she's only shared with Damien that obviously her parents have an idea of who Luna might be.
mm.
Um, so yeah, it's a little bit of a journey, and I'm really enjoying writing her.
Good.
Yes. So yes. Yeah. So I think now that I've had my little rant about my character, I think it's a good place to end it. And
Mm,
like you said, keep writing and enjoy writing for yourself. So
mm.
until next time, hopefully we'll have another Game Master interview too soon. So
Yeah.
see. So watch your space. Take care.
Bye.